You've been fighting it your whole life. That thing inside you, that darkness you pretend isn't there, that capacity for cruelty you've desperately tried to suffocate, that part of you that knows exactly how to hurt, how to manipulate, how to destroy. And you've been good, haven't you? You've chosen kindness over power, gentleness over force, light over darkness. You've built your identity on being the opposite of everything you fear you could become. But late at night, when the facade drops and you're alone with the truth, you feel it. Growing, stirring, getting stronger with every denial. That monster you've been trying so hard not to become. That shadow you've been running from. That part of you that whispers terrible truths about what you're capable of. And it terrifies you, because you know what Nietzsche warned. He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster. You've internalized this as a prohibition, a commandment, a law that says you must remain pure, untouched by darkness, forever good. But here's the truth that will shatter your illusions. You're already becoming one. The only question is whether you'll do it consciously or unconsciously. Nietzsche wasn't warning you about external monsters. He was warning you about the one already living inside you. And if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. But here's what you missed. The abyss isn't out there. The abyss is within. And you've been gazing into it your entire life through the mirror of denial. Every time you've suppressed your anger, it didn't disappear. It went underground. Every time you've swallowed your cruelty, it didn't dissolve. It fermented. Every time you've rejected your capacity for darkness, it didn't vanish. It grew in the shadows of your psyche. You thought you were fighting monsters by refusing to become one. But you were actually creating a monster, an unconscious one that operates outside your awareness, one that emerges in passive aggression, in subtle sabotage, in the 1,000 ways you hurt others while maintaining plausible deniability. Even to yourself. The transformation isn't something that might happen. It's something that's been happening since the first time you decided parts of yourself were unacceptable. Since the first time you split yourself into good and evil. Since the first time you declared war on your own nature. This isn't corruption. This is inevitability. Because here's what the moralists won't tell you. You can't selectively amputate parts of your psyche. What you reject doesn't die. It goes underground and grows mutant in the dark. The real question isn't whether you'll become a monster. The real question is whether your monster will be conscious or unconscious. Jung understood what Nietzsche was pointing toward. The shadow, that repository of everything you've rejected about yourself. Every cruel impulse, every destructive capability, every monstrous part you've tried to excise from your identity. But the shadow doesn't accept exile quietly. It demands integration. And if you refuse, it takes control anyway, through projection, seeing in others what you won't see in yourself. Through possession moments where you weren't yourself. Through gradual contamination of everything you try to keep pure. This is the cosmic joke. The harder you fight your monster, the more monstrous you become. The more you deny your cruelty, the more cruel your kindness becomes. The more you reject your darkness, the more your light casts shadows. The more you insist on your goodness, the more damage you do in its name. Because unconscious monsters are the most dangerous kind. They act without awareness. They destroy while believing they're helping. They wound while convinced of their virtue. Think about it. The most devastating hurts in your life didn't many come from people who thought they were doing good, who were so identified with their light that they couldn't see the shadows they cast. That's what happens when you refuse to befriend your monster. It doesn't disappear. It operates through you, using your goodness as camouflage. But there's another way. A more terrifying way. A way that requires you to stop fighting your nature and start understanding it. The way of conscious integration. Here's where Nietzsche becomes your guide into forbidden territory. He wasn't telling you to avoid becoming a monster. That's impossible. The capacity for monstrosity is woven into the human psyche. It's part of your wholeness. He was telling you to become one carefully, with consciousness, with choice, with mastery rather than possession. Think of your inner monster like fire. Suppressed, it builds pressure until it explodes, destroying everything in uncontrolled conflagration. This is the path of denial, the good person who suddenly snaps, the saint who falls spectacularly. But acknowledged, integrated, given conscious expression, fire becomes useful. It warms, it illuminates, it transforms, it protects. The same capacity for cruelty that makes a torturer can make a surgeon cutting precisely to heal. The same capacity for manipulation that makes a con artist can make a therapist understanding the psyche's hidden levers. The same capacity for destruction that makes a vandal can make a renovator tearing down what needs to be rebuilt. The monster isn't the problem. Unconsciousness is the problem. When you consciously integrate your monster, when you acknowledge your capacity for darkness and choose how to use it, something profound happens. You stop being possessed by it. Instead, you possess it as a tool, as an capability, as part of your wholeness. Subscribe if you're ready to stop fighting yourself, because the battle you're waging against your own nature is the only one you're guaranteed to lose. The Übermensch, Nietzsche's vision of human evolution, wasn't someone who conquered their monster nature. It was someone who integrated it, who looked at their capacity for cruelty and said, "I see you. You are part of me. Now let me show you how we're going to use this power." This isn't about becoming cruel. It's about acknowledging you could be cruel and choosing not to be. From power, not from weakness. From integration, not from suppression. Because here's the secret. True kindness can only come from someone capable of cruelty. Otherwise, it's just weakness dressed in moral clothing. True gentleness can only come from someone capable of violence. Otherwise, it's just fear pretending to be virtue. True good can only come from someone who's integrated their evil. Otherwise, it's just half a person pretending to be whole. The sacred monster knows all the ways they could hurt and chooses to heal, knows all the ways they could destroy and chooses to create, knows all the ways they could manipulate and chooses to liberate. This is real power, not the absence of darkness, but darkness consciously directed by light. Not the denial of the monster, but the monster in service to something greater. But this integration requires something most people can't give: the willingness to meet your monster face to face. So how do you do it? How do you integrate what you've spent your life rejecting? First, you stop running. You turn around and face that thing you've been fleeing. That capacity for cruelty, that potential for destruction, that ability to hurt. You say, I see you. You are part of me. You have always been part of me. Then you get curious instead of judgmental. Why do I have this capacity? What purpose might it serve? What happens when I deny it versus when I acknowledge it? You'll discover something shocking. Your monster usually formed to protect you. Your cruelty to defend against hurt. Your manipulation to get needs met when direct requests failed. Your destructiveness to break free from suffocating constraints. These aren't evil impulses. They're survival mechanisms that got demonized. Next, you dialogue with your monster. Not to eliminate it, not to cage it, but to understand it, to learn its language, to discover what it needs. Because here's what Jung knew. What we resist persists. What we befriend transforms. Your monster doesn't want to destroy your life. It wants to be acknowledged as part of your life. It wants its power to be used consciously rather than erupting unconsciously. It wants to serve, not sabotage. But it can only serve if you stop pretending it doesn't exist. When you finally integrate your monster, when you stop fighting your nature and start directing it, gifts emerge. Your capacity for cruelty becomes precision. You can cut through illusion, end what needs ending, perform necessary surgeries on your life. Your capacity for destruction becomes renovation. You can tear down outdated structures, dismantle limiting beliefs, destroy what keeps you small. Your capacity for manipulation becomes understanding. You know how the psyche works, how patterns form, how transformation happens. Your capacity for coldness becomes clarity. You can see without sentiment, choose without guilt, act without being paralyzed by false compassion. These aren't corruptions of your goodness. They're completions of your wholeness. Because partial people create partial lives, but whole people, people who've integrated their monsters, create something else entirely. They create authenticity, power, freedom. They stop performing goodness and start embodying wholeness. They stop fighting their nature and start fulfilling it. So here's your choice. Continue the war against yourself. Continue splitting yourself into acceptable and unacceptable. Continue feeding your unconscious monster through denial. Or accept the truth. You will become a monster. It's not a matter of if, but how. Consciously or unconsciously. With awareness or through possession. As master or as slave. The monster you're fighting isn't outside you. It is you. The part of you that you've deemed unworthy of love. The part you've exiled from consciousness. The part you've been trying to kill. But you can't kill part of yourself without dying. You can only integrate or be disintegrated. Write in the comments, I choose conscious integration. Not because it sounds evolved, but because naming your choice begins the process. Because acknowledging your monster is the first step to befriending it. Because in a world that teaches you to split yourself in half, choosing wholeness is revolutionary. The monster is waiting. It's always been waiting. Not to destroy you, but to complete you. Not to possess you, but to empower you. Not to make you evil, but to make you whole. Stop fighting it. Start integrating it. Become the sacred monster, the one who knows their own darkness so intimately that they can choose, moment by moment, to create light, not from denial of what they are, but from the full acceptance of everything they could be.